Welcome to Modern Homestead, Alaska. I am Jessica, and today I am sharing the story of how we purchased a completely abandoned, full of trash homestead build and turned it into a finished home and all the work that we have been doing outside. Today I'm just sharing with you all of the different things that we have done on the outside of the property. I hope that you enjoy a little before and after looks, all the things that we have accomplished so far. So I thought I'd start this outside tour up here at the very start of our driveway. It is one of the areas that we have absolutely worked on every single year. We have brought in loads of road base. It still isn't to the point where we would like it to be, but it is so much better than it was. But what I wanted to show you is this is all I could see of the property when I knew in my heart that it was the right one for us. And here is why. It is so quiet. It is so peaceful. Just so you know, we are on 5 acres. The house is tucked at the very back end of the 5 acres, right near the lake. And our acreage kind of ends right where you enter the lake. So we have access to the lake, of course, but most of our land is on this side of the house and the lake. When we purchased the property, you could come in the driveway like this, and anything you had to bring into the driveway, like a trailer, a boat, anything like that, it had to be backed down the driveway. Otherwise, you were not able to turn around. Most of this area you see right here was a giant, hill. There was a tree, literally probably right here, that just necked down this entire space around us, making it extremely difficult to access everything. It made it hard for the contractors to get in. And when we brought in our big trailer to move, we just backed it down the driveway and then had to pull it straight out of the driveway when we sold it. So one of the biggest projects we did was we actually hired our neighbor Matt with Osgood Excavating, and our son works for them. He's an excavator too. Matt cleared all of this for us. He then came back in the spring and buried it, and it's a good gravel base. And now we have a huge area where we can turn around and drive and all of that. And then this year, everything you see right there is going to continue with that. And eventually there will be a shop. We've twisted kind of the direction of the shop, and so you can pull into the driveway like this and turn straight into the shop and then back out this way and so on, and we'll have plenty of space that way. As far as the exterior of the house goes, I do have an entire interior video. I'll link it at the end that shows you literally how we went from sticks. It was just 2x4s, 2x6. It was framed with windows and the roof, but some of it was molding and rotting. We had to replace some of the sheeting. There was no concrete or anything in the basement or the garage here. There's no electrical or plumbing. Nothing was ran to the house, and so it was just a shell that they started building, and then they abandoned the build, and it sat for about 6 years. They tried to sell it a couple of times, and Aaron and I just happened to come along and be the ones to purchase the abandoned build, basically. I'm not sure. We've never gotten to the bottom of why They started building it and then just never finished building it. They live locally, so it's not like they moved out of state or something like that, but I mean, your guess is as good as mine. They started, they framed it, they got it to that point, and then they just abandoned the project and ended up putting it on the market, and that is how we ended up with it. So we've obviously finished the entire outside of the house as well as the inside. What isn't on the house that will be eventually on the house, which will take a bunch of additional work, is there will be a huge front porch that wraps around to the back deck. And as we walk to the back of the house to see what we've done, I'll show you that. But just envision someday there will be a huge porch that wraps around to the back, and it will be so, so beautiful. The chickens are awfully lively this morning, and so we'll have to ignore that. But here's some of the updates as we go along. The flower baskets that we put together on a different video, they are doing fantastic. We moved in July of 2021, and we didn't accomplish anything other than some outside cleanup. And so truthfully, in 2022 is when we started working on the outside of the property, and everything you see here, this entire area was full of trash. Even beginning in the very start of 2021, the boys would fill an entire dump trailer with just trash out of the yard every single week, and it was taken to the dump. Things were recycled. We did the best we could with all of it, but there was an entire HVAC system, like all the ductwork that would go into a Costco. There were tons of broken like heater units, broken windows and glass, massive piles of steel, just insulation and car parts and broken down trailers, massive tanks, like you name it. And we actually took the time to clean it up, and it finally got finished just this summer. But in the very first summer that we were here for the whole summer, Aaron did build this beautiful woodshed. And we finally, by getting everything done, have it pretty much full. It will be full by the end of the year. And so we're pretty excited because we heat with wood only. And so we need a ton of wood. All right, swinging around here. Let's see where we should go next. Okay, so one of the absolute first outside builds was actually this chicken coop. Aaron and the boys, our neighbor Denny, helped out. We built this the very first year. We knew that we wanted chickens. This was Aaron's design, and he just did an absolute amazing job with it. So what happened looking back is when we purchased the property, all of this area was forest, like the rest of it. And unbeknownst to us, we showed up and all of this land had been cleared to put in a new septic and leach field. And we had no idea that that was going to happen. And all of this had been done in winter, so the ground was completely uneven. They just knocked over the trees. They didn't even cut them down. So there was like massive shredded stumps everywhere. And Aaron and I began just cleaning up all of this area, dealing with that. And when we did, we built the chicken coop as the first thing. I got these windows on super clearance at the Home Depot. I think I paid like $70 a piece for them, something like that. We need a ton of light up here. It is completely insulated, and it has a triple pane window in the back as well that was just left over in the basement. It must have been broken or belonged to the house or something, but it doesn't matter. It matches our house windows, so we use that, so that was free to us as well. But this coop has been just fantastic over the last couple of years. We have not had winter issues of losing chickens or any of those things. The insulated building is just holding up really, really well. I'm going to do a full garden tour at the end of the video. But what I wanted to show you when I'm talking about what's gonna come is the garden fence. So we're gonna mimic and match this fence and run square off of it down the hill and create a massive run for the chickens. So that's kind of a hope and dream and big project for the future. Right now they're fine with the space that they have. They are doing really, really well, but I would love to first have more chickens, but I want to give them more space, and that fence running off of this one will really square things up and be a beautiful addition to the property. We'll leave all the forest and then they can hide amongst the trees and forage for things. It'll be a really beautiful thing. I think I'm gonna come back over here. We'll talk about the garden just briefly as far as builds go. We think the original rows were like right here somewhere. There was just a couple of rows, and the very first year we grew food for the very first time ever. We had never grown anything at any of our homes. We have learned to garden here in Alaska. So I don't have a bunch of experience from like a previous garden and I knew what I was doing or whatever. We only have had this garden to learn and grow with, and the escalation over the last couple of years from where we started to where we're at has been quite substantial. So after year one of gardening, I decided to go to college and learn to garden. And our second year of the garden was a square foot gardening method. And it was really interesting. I did it based off everything that I learned in class. And now the last couple of years, we've done some rows and things. The first year we had a fence that is now the chickens run and kind of some other things. We've used the fence. And then just last year, Aaron and Caleb built me this fence for the garden. And so that has been a really beautiful improvement to the property, but it is all concreted in. It's set in stone, kind of the size and shape of it. We could obviously add on or change that and tear it apart, but I think it's going to last us for a very long time. Let's walk up here to the cow. So I need to mention, when we had all of this ground cleared, we created a little lane. We call it the Peaches' lane. Peaches is the name of our cow. And that lane will swing around the shop and it comes down to the barn so that we can drive tractors and move hay and do all of those different things. We've given ourselves 2 access points to the barn. One on the sides of the greenhouses and then this way. And that way we can circle around, push snow, move all the things that we need to do in the winter time and not be like kind of bottlenecked in to where, you know, what do you do with all the snow? We can get 10 and 20 feet of snow in a winter. And so all of that snow has to go someplace and she has to be able to move around. So that is all working out really, really well. Let's see. I found her. Her 2025 edition is right over here. Her name is Honey. And then this is Peach's first calf. Hi, sweet girl. Hi, gorgeous. Hi, gorgeous. So when we were clearing all of the land, I had this entire section. The lane was actually spinning around to be greenhouses. So I dreamed of having a giant, like, square greenhouse up here that was similar to the size and shape of the garden. And I had all of these beautiful plants, and I found Peaches, which is what I've always wanted. And I knew that I wanted a mini Jersey. They're few and far between here in Alaska. And so when I saw her as a little calf, she was even younger than Honey when I found her and purchased her. And then by that fall, after she had been on mom the whole time, we were going to get her. And so we needed a barn. We needed protection and a place for her to go. And so instead of doing the greenhouses here, Aaron built me this barn. Aaron is such an incredible builder that he actually built and designed this entire barn off of a couple of dots on a piece of paper, and it's site built, so it isn't some blueprints or plans or something like that. He just has been in construction and built so many things that he knew what the spacing in the rafters needed to be in the walls and so on, and so he just designed it and built this. It took us 2 trips because we couldn't get everything on the trailer the first trip, and he literally built it 2 trips to the Home Depot. It essentially, if you know horses, is a 3-stall barn is what you would consider it. So there's the double area for her that is inside. She can get in and out of the wind. We trapped her and the baby in there. She gave birth inside of the barn, and we could shut them in just to give the baby time to get on her feet before she's harassed by anything. And then this is the milk stanchion area. And our goal and dream is this fencing will turn into similar but shorter than the garden fence, and it will totally extend everywhere you see, and then she'll be given a great big area to roam and cause a ruckus, I guess. So last year, in addition to the fence for the garden, we also got the greenhouses. I'm going to take you in for a tour of one of the greenhouses right now. That greenhouse did not do well last year, and so there are no plants in it. I'm just using it to store some garden supplies. But this one is totally doing great. So I'm actually really proud about how this greenhouse is turning out, and I've had bug issues on 6 of all of the peppers. So these entire 2 things are pepper plants. And what pause the tour, spent some time with a neighbor. He was bringing the chickens some cantaloupe and watermelon rinds, and they just love it. So what I was gonna say is the peppers, I hardly got anything off of this last year and the year before. They are doing amazing, and the thing that I did was grow all of these marigolds ahead of time and then add them in. And what happens is, as the little bugs fly along and they're looking for food and things that they want to eat, they know they don't like the marigolds, they don't like the smell or the taste of them, and because those are kind of overshadowing the pepper plants, the peppers are just absolutely thriving. Cody comes out here and steals these little hot peppers, and she says they are really hot and tart. I have gotten some aphids on these 3, and you can see the difference. I got these at the greenhouse, and I didn't have any big marigolds, but I did plant some marigolds around them. But as the marigolds are starting to shadow them, and I'm staying on top of it. So I'm working with, let's see, the Captain Jack's dead bug. We've got neem oil, and we have a soap. And so I am just hard drenching them to wash away the bugs and the eggs and all those things. And then we're doing preventative measures everywhere because I lost all the peppers to bugs last year. This is the other side. Same thing was happening here. You can kind of see, if the camera will focus, see all those dots? That is where it had bugs on it, and I managed to, I'll just drench it and wipe it. See right here, see, they're tiny, and you have to get each and every one of them. So all of these are coming along just beautiful. Look, these bell peppers are more and more beautiful. So many of them are tucked in here. Down the center of the greenhouse here, this is the tomatoes. So you'll see the 2 rows here that are strung up. Those came from seed. They looked really, really sad when we first put them all in here, and all of them are very, very happy right now. We have so many flowers on them. And then this row came from the greenhouse. We went ahead and grabbed those this year. because I haven't really gotten tomatoes from tomatoes that I planted from seed, at least not a big harvest like what we need for a year's worth of tomatoes. But we had a great harvest the very first year from tomatoes I bought from the greenhouse. So with all that said, we did buy all of these tomatoes, and if they do better than ours, I'm not going to give space in the seed starting area anymore to tomatoes if they're better from the greenhouse. So it's that trial and error and learning as we go. But no matter what, the plants are healthy and they are putting on tons of flowers right now. And on this backside is the tomatillos. They are not as tall as they got last year. I did plant multiples per pot, and that seems to be helping, if I can get the words out. And we have tons. Look at a bee. So that is a native bee. They don't, I guess they don't produce honey, but they are still a pollinator. So we don't want to kill the native populations of bees up here. So we have a ton of husks. Just absolutely, that will be so great if we actually can produce enough tomatillos in order to make salsa this year. But little update on the greenhouse. It is looking amazing. We're gonna swing back down around this area and go to the back of the property and just kind of share with you some hopes and dreams for the future. We haven't done a whole heck of a lot other than just cleaning up all of the trash and such. Happy 4th of July if that applies to you. It is so loud out because it is that week, that weekend, and people are just absolutely everywhere having a blast. Oh, look it, I have a visitor. Dookie. What? What, baby? Hi, Groody. Hi, Drudy. Okay, we'll have to just deal with the plane noise. Oh, another one. Birdo. Hello. Hi, honey. Hey, sweet boy. Oh, Blue. Little boy Blue. Little boy Blue. And Tipper. Oh, great. We have 5 dogs. Aaron was keeping them in the house for me so that I could film. So this is the last thing I'm going to show you before we get to the full garden tour. Imagine, if you will, we already talked about the front deck. It is going to connect to what I'm telling you. We did get the design put together so that we know how many, like, the things that he has to put in the ground and build the deck. We have done most all the building ourselves. That's how we're able to afford to have it. If we had to pay someone to build this deck, we could not afford the deck. So if you will, there will be a step that comes up that goes into this man door, and from the man door I can go to the chicken coop, or I can go straight onto the deck, and the deck will have a set of stairs that meets the next deck. You see it? And it'll overlook the lake there. This is a very, very steep hill. We have done no work. We have garden stuff and pressure washer and all of that out, but all of this needs to be worked and done. And then, so pretend you're on the deck goes out, it overlooks that. This is the burn pile. As we have cleaned up trash, so much wood trash around the property, it gets thrown into this pile and burnt, and we are going to come in when we are done with the cleanup, and then all of this will get kind of buried, and then a dock will go out into the lake. And this is the back side of the home, and there will be a deck that wraps around from the front porch all the way across here, and then the steps go down to there, and then there will be here magic floating set of stairs right about here that come down to the walkway that will lead out to the dock and the lake. If you see the dots out in the lake, probably not on this camera. Those are a bunch of ducks out there, right? So coming to this side of the house, so there would be the front porch, here would be the deck, there's the door to nowhere that we have right now. They're the same elevation, and so it'll wrap around and then go down if you can kind of envision that. But we have to do a bunch of dirt work first, because the deck will come out here. That would make it to where we don't have space. See, there's trees in the way. Oh, look at those. Look at all the pollinators on that. Fireweed. Oh, it's just beautiful. So cute. Okay, so all these trees right here up close are in the way, and they will make it to where we cannot bring the tractor or four-wheeler or anything around the property. And so we have to scoot all of it this way and then make it to where it's steady and stable, something that we can drive on. So those are kind of some really big things that we have hopes for in the future. We want the fence for the chickens. We need the shop. We want to increase all the fencing for Peaches in the barn. We want this deck. How many years is it going to take us to get there? I don't know. We've made massive progress over the last couple of years, but I do want to say one other area here. This area here that we finally got cleaned up this year, behind the shop will be an orchard one day. So that is kind of like what we're hoping and planning for in the future. And I think it's gonna be just absolutely beautiful. Okay, taking you along for the July garden tour. We haven't done any updates or anything really since we got this started. And what happens up here in Alaska is literally last weekend, Aaron and I, the lettuce was not ready. Salad greens were not ready. And we went out on the boat. We were gone just 2 days. And I came home and it had gone to seed. So yesterday I got some replacement salad that we're going to put in there, as well as one of the spinaches decided to bolt, and the arugula. So everything else is looking really, really well. I'll show you how it is all coming along. I am so proud of this year's garden and the way that it looks. I've done a really good job of keeping up on the weeds and the different things, but let's see what we actually have. I think I start down here, less camera shadows. So what we have in this first row are, oh, this is the parsley, and it is starting to come along. I can begin harvesting it and it will keep growing back. The sweet peas in the back along the trellis, and then we have onions here. They're really starting to take off. I just absolutely love how well they're turning out. And then the garlic. We planted more garlic than we did for last year's season, and we have just kind of struggled with it. So many things did not overwinter up here this past year, and so the fact that we even have a garlic harvest, we're doing better than most, believe it or not. But we have some onions along the front, but the back is all of the beautiful garlic. You have to grow a hardneck variety in Alaska. And what that means is it's gonna send out a garlic scape. That's the hard part that runs up when the garlic is harvested. And that is the only kind that will actually overwinter in Alaska. And then our hope is we're gonna end up having to take this and then replant it in order to get the garlic harvest that we want. Where in the garden we're gonna end up moving it to, I have not decided, but it kind of dictates the next year's garden because you plant something out, and our garden design is to where I can change the beds, the rows, the directions, the size of the beds, all of that from year to year, and we just rake into the rows the stuff from the walkways. We lay something that is degradable, that's going to become compost into the walkways, and then we plant out the rows in whatever direction we want. So wherever I end up putting this garlic this next year will dictate what is happening. I'm trying to avoid along the greenhouses because I would like permanent greenhouses, and I would like some boxes that would be in the inside of the garden, and I don't want the garlic to obstruct our ability to build what I want to build if we can come up with the time and the effort to do that. So let's talk about the next row. So this is the fun zigzag row. So in each quadrant, and I think it just looks so cool, and you can totally see it in the camera, that everything in almost these triangle patterns is a different thing. And then what creates the triangle patterns is celery. So I zigzagged celery down the center, planted from seed. The spinach, this is getting harvested tonight or in the morning. The one of the two bolted, and so I'll figure out what that one is, and whatever that one is, we won't do that one next year. This one has been much slower to bolt, and so we'll repeat this spinach, and then you see the celery there. This is some onions. In the front of the bigger bulbed onions are scallions. They're really starting to take off this week. Back there we have arugula, and then the beets. My beets didn't do well from seed, so I didn't get nearly as many as I did the previous year, and my whole goal was to have a ton more than the year before. So it is what it is, but these here are the beets. We have some basil there. This is a flower in my head. I believe it's a flower. I'm gonna let it figure out what it's doing, because whatever plant it is, it's not spreading. And then you see the celery again, making the shape. We have the carrots. I am thinning them as I'm weeding them. Let me show you. Here is a weed. I'm just gonna come in here and I'm going to pull out, and then any little carrots that come along, we just deal with. So look at that. So just kind of keeping it thinned out so that we can actually get some decent sized carrots this year. This was a sage that looked really, really poorly. Like, look at how black it had gotten. And then all of this is brand new growth. Isn't that cool? Another onion quadrant. And then the radishes. My husband comes out here every night and digs. So these are his holes. So he just kind of digs in here and finds some radishes that are ready for harvest. He pops them off, rinses them in the hose, because I've had to be watering the garden, which I have not had to do in years past. But as I'm watering it, he, see, that's a weed though. Right there. Da, 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 da. Pull that out. Anywho, so this is the salad. It went to seed, but not all of it, just whatever this is. And so I think I'm going to strategically harvest. See, this is a group of weeds. And I thought I had done such a good job weeding before this video. I'm back. I just throw all the weeds to the chickens. Right here is the kale. The kale is looking really, really good. And then when I get all this cleared out of here, all of the, I may just end up, I think that's what we're gonna do. We'll pull out of here the salad that went to seed. And then I could, Here's me distracted. Here's me every single night. What I end up doing is just poking around in this garden. It is my happy, joy, peace, quiet. I love this spot. This is the greatest, second greatest homestead choice. Peaches first, garden second. Real life ADHD. Oh my goodness, look at that. Just by pulling what went to seed. And then when I come out here, I can harvest for dinner tonight an entire salad. I'll just rinse it off really good because I now have dirt sprinkled up. And then I can pull anything that kind of looks like it went to seed and still, we're not wasting all of it, but free food for the chickens. Yay, me. At the end of the brassica row, I have some cilantro, and you can see I have been harvesting off of it. So if we're having tacos, we are having cilantro, sage at the end there, sage at this end here. Everything's looking good. A row of onions on the outside, and then we have the cauliflowers. They're wilting a little. They need some water. I watered them last night. They're doing really well. Oh no. Oh no. No. Something. I need some sort of trap plant. I just found some sort of caterpillar looking bug. Oh no. Okay. Brussels sprouts. None of them are brustling yet. And then cabbage. Purple. And then green cabbages were starting to form up. In the middle is dill sprinkled throughout. It should help with some of the bugs. And then here we have the kohlrabi, a few more cabbages, some marigolds at the end, and then lots of flowers that should be trap plants. But I mean, I obviously found something down there. I may have to do a sprinkle of bugs and slugs. It's like a pelleted sprinkle that you put everywhere. It works really, really well for up here. It's totally organic, safe for the animals, all of that, but it does keep things like that out of the garden. Let's swing over here. So I came through and weeded this and then did the weekly, every other week fertilizer, and it just went poof, like started to blow up. So we have sugar snap peas along the back. There are several different kinds throughout. These are our artichokes because what I wanted to see was a giant wall of artichokes like against the greenhouse. Last year we did sunflowers. This year we're doing artichokes, and then it's planted with some Walla Walla onions interplanted, and then some shallots on the front of the row. And so just staying on top of weed pressure and making sure it's really well fed, this bed is just doing really well. Look at how big these leaves are getting. That is insane. They're gonna be huge. So we called this row our viney things. We've lost some stuff. We did not overplant it like we did last year, and it is doing fantastic. So we have some trap plants at the end, and then we have pumpkins first. These started out super small. They are all coming along. 2 rows of onions. The onions are really starting to form bulbs, which is exciting to see, that we're not just gonna have scallion size onions throughout the entire summer. So calcium is something that our soil seems to be lacking, because I have dealt with blossom and rot last year, and it began this year, and immediately I treated these with an additional boost of calcium. And then the white thing that you see sprinkled throughout the garden bed is actually eggshells. So I've been saving the eggshells and then adding them to this bed, and then I'll save eggshells for next year's bed like this. because it's the calcium that prevents the blossom end rot and keeps them from yellowing. They started to yellow. We had all that. I've hit them with a dose of calcium, and now looking across here, you could not tell that I was even beginning to have an issue, but we'll stay on top of that. And we may get a pumpkin or something here and there. We may have a watermelon, but mostly what we're seeing is pumpkins. We have a zucchini because I totally forgot to seed start zucchinis and yellow squash. And so I grabbed, what was it, 4 or 6 of them and tucked them throughout in the places where other things had died. So look at, I have little baby zucchinis. Look at those little guys. And the blossoms, look at how healthy that blossom on the end of that zucchini is. That is what we want to see. And you see here, all these blossoms had fallen off. Those are males, and they pollinate the females, and then that falls off. But we are not having any issues. I'm not, like, this may be like a one of the watermelons or something like that. Another squash. These are all zucchinis. Down here, they're real far behind what I got at the greenhouse. And then I went ahead and tucked where we had lost several zucchinis. I tucked the other through zucchinis, or they're supposed to be cucumbers. They're supposed to be cucumbers. That for sure is a zucchini. Maybe these two are a cucumber. I'm hoping. So I tucked those in, but you can see here, looking beautiful. And then bulbing, we are bulbing on the onions. So that is beautiful. They're getting the food they need. Those are happy. Well, I have to apologize. All of my audio went out, and after having recorded this video twice, I am now going to voice over it instead of having to record it a third time and losing the beautiful footage that we have here. So jumping over, we have the potato row. Erin helped me plant this out. All of the potatoes came from our seed potatoes from last year. We're looking good, simply waiting on everything to blossom and have some potatoes under the ground. We do have 3 tomatillo plants outside simply because we ran out of space in the greenhouse. They're being kind of overshadowed by the massive raspberry bushes. We actually transplanted this raspberry over here from a different spot last year, and I did not think that it was going to survive, and it is just absolutely thriving right now. If we head to the other end of the bed, these are some transplants that we got from a neighbor. They really struggled the first couple of years. They weren't happy. They got broke off. And to get the fruit, it produces on old wood. So anything that grows this year will produce the raspberries next year. And so we really need plants to hang on. But as you can see right there, we actually have some raspberries starting to form up. This bed is pretty special to me because I have never had a ground cherry. I've never seen them up here, and we are growing them from seed, and those are tiny baby husks. There will be little cherries that grow inside of those husks. I guess you can make jelly and some other fantastic things out of it. So I look forward to that. Plus, it's something that's supposed to come back year after year. I have tried some calcium because of the yellowing on the ground cherries, and I'm not sure what's going on. I weeded and I feeded, and I thought, okay, it would bounce back. It is not. So I went ahead and got some chelated iron that in the recording of this video, I have put on the day that I am filming the voiceover. And we do have some new growth underneath that's nice and green in color. But because of the yellowing on the top, I'm trying some iron to just kind of figure out what is our soil missing. We're going to go ahead and leave we've gotten everything on the inside of the garden now. And then we have some pots and hanging baskets along the outside of the garden fence. So right here at the end, we have the hanging baskets that we started inside. We filled several of them with nasturtiums, and they really were struggling, but we've gotten several of them to hang on along the fence row, and they are starting to look just really, really good. I love the deep red flowers with the light lemon yellow kind of pastel yellow flower. They really have bounced back. All of this was planted out from seed, so note to self, no need to plant nasturtiums ahead of time. Just plant them out in seed and they will do amazing. That is one of the mosquito pots that we planted in a previous video that you can look back at. We have some chamomile here. It looks to be struggling a little. I got this from the greenhouse. I'm not sure what is going on with it, but the pineapple mint, I did not know this. Unlike the other mint, it develops and it starts to kind of brown. I thought I was losing the plant. And what I realized is if you pick off the big leaves when they are fully ripe, ready to go, what happens is right behind that leaf, another leaf starts to grow. So you harvest it and it reflushes, and you harvest it and it reflushes. So I thought that was just absolutely fantastic. Fascinating because it's so different than any of the other mints that I'm dealing with. So if you get a pineapple mint, just know, harvest the leaves and then let it regrow. Do not cut it all back, but it does truly smell and taste like pineapple and mint. Right here we have some zinnias and some hyssop. We had a little bit of yellowing on the lemon balm, so I went ahead and just cut all of that back and it has reflushed as well. Moving over to these double pots, all of this we planted from seed with the exception of maybe one or two things that we just tucked in there along the way. And by cutting back most of these plants, they have truly just reflushed, filled in, and made for super full pots. And we still have plenty of summer left ahead of us. These things are going to be huge. We have a repeat on the side over here. We have some yellowing on this wire vine in these pots. And so I have some yellowing with the sunflowers as well. And so I went ahead and added chelated iron to them. I'll let you know how it turns out. Was that the fix for the yellowing of all of these different flowering things? I'm not sure. It's my first time trying that up here, but we have lots of new blossoms and blooms, and so it's exciting to see. Lots of repeats, so I have two of the same pots on both sides. This one had died out, so I threw a sage in there. I have no idea how a little baby artichoke wound up in that basket. But moving over by peaches, we do have two more of the mosquito pots here. And I just kind of come along and stir them up. And if you brush along them, it kind of gets in the air. And it is truly, we are not having a big mosquito year. And so they must be doing something. And here is where I wished you well. I thanked you for being part of our tour and everything that we have done over the past. It's just so nice to have these videos to look back at our progress and just imagine, as far as we've made it in the first couple of years, how far we will make it in the future. I think it will turn into a really, really beautiful property. We are beyond blessed to have this home and this land, and we hope that we can bring it some honor that it deserves. Thank you for being part of today's video. I hope that you are blessed. I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I hope that you will join us in a future video, you can do that by hitting the subscribe button. And if you ring the bell, you'll get notifications and you won't miss anything that we're doing on the channel. With that, thanks for being here. We'll see you soon.